Welcome back. I'm JT, and a special guest joining us now. The woman's name is Susan Chance. Her daughter, Vail Johnson, had a book started and was off to a running start, and unfortunately, she passed away. She was 9 years old and I guess died from an undiagnosed heart condition in 2016. Susan is her mom, and she joins us now. Susan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about Vail.
So Vail actually, her writing started in kindergarten and mostly in first grade. She had a teacher, Corey Houghton, that really inspired her to write. She saw a talent in Vail, and Vail was a very brilliant, imaginative kid. And so she began writing books at a very young age. And so Vail continued to be an excellent student. She had friendships with all kids. She was just a shining light in a room. And unfortunately, on August 31st, 2016, she passed away of a very rare undiagnosed heart condition called myocarditis. And but the day before she had passed away, she told me, walking up from the barn after riding her horse, that she wanted to be an author when she grew up. And I told her, well, we'll make that happen if that's what you want to do. And so when she passed, some of the kids read a few of her stories at the funeral, and it just really sparked the idea in my mind to take it from there and have her books published, because that was her dream.
That's incredible. In fact, it sounds like she was not sick prior to this with any, illness related to the heart condition. It happened pretty suddenly, it sounds like.
That's correct. We spoke with the pediatrician, and she had no symptoms at all. She rode her horse. She ran around the house. But he said essentially it was a very rare form, that it basically attacked the spark plug of her heart, and she just died in her sleep.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Devastating.
It's tough for parents. It's got to be the worst thing anybody can go through in losing a child. But to honor your daughter the way you have is just amazing to me. Do you do this on your own? Do you do it with your husband? How do you guys pull this amazing, venture off?
Yes. Well, my husband, Chad Chance, who couldn't be here today because he's traveling for work, but he and I, shortly after Vail's passing, we were taking her older sister, Jade, back to school, and it just was laid on Chad's heart that we wanted to start a foundation called Friends of Vail and do great things in her name and publish her books and give out scholarships. And so we have taken that journey from, it was about a week after Vail's passing that we started this journey with Friends of Vail. And now we are to the point where we have 3 books published, actually 8 stories in total. And we've given out over $90,000 in scholarships to kids and done improvements at our local church and our local schools. So we're super proud of what Friends of Vail has done.
That is just an amazing story. Now, these stories that are in this book, or these 3 books, is all of this Vail's material?
All of it is Vail's. And I would say probably 7 of them, when you get the books, you look at her handwriting, people think she was 9 when she wrote the stories, but she was actually 6 when she wrote most of the stories. One of them, however, she wrote the week she died. And the teachers came to us before her funeral and said, we think you should read this story that Vail wrote this week. And it's one of her most powerful writings, and it's called A Good Friend. And it talks about how you need to welcome others that are new into your group and how to be a good friend. And it's very powerful. But yes, it's all her writing that I then hired an author and an illustrator to help rewrite her stories, because she was little and I wanted proper punctuation and proper spelling. I wanted something that you could read to your children and they could learn from.
Right.
So they rewrote and re-illustrated, but the books have Vail's original handwriting and illustrations after each story so that you can see the inspiration.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Ed and Britt, the folks that helped you write the book and illustrate the book. How did you come to know them?
My cousin, Catherine, who works for CNN, I had talked to her about trying to find an author, a children's author, and she hooked me up with Ed Payne, who lives in Atlanta. And so I flew to Atlanta to visit and had dinner with Ed. And as we were talking, I knew for sure this was the guy for the project. He was just perfect. And he told me, he said, I have an illustrator that I prefer to work with if you're okay with that. But she lives in Los Angeles, and I trusted him. I trusted my cousin Catherine, and so we went to work on these books, and we all communicated, he in Atlanta, me in Dallas, Britt in L.A., and until our benefit where we released the books in 2019, the three of us had never been in the room together. And so Chad and Ed and Britt and I got to meet as the book was being released, which was really interesting.
Well, boy, that's a great connection with everybody coming together like that. And my gosh, what an honor for Vail to have such professionals working together on this. Now, that book is called The Daily Rounds of a Hound. That's the children's series, right? Are there a number of different ones in that series or different stories in that series?
Well, that's Ed's story. That's Ed's book about his dog.
Oh, okay.
And I believe there are. Now, Vail's stories are titled Vail's Tales.
Right.
And there's 3 books now published in the Vail's Tales series. There's Vail's Tales, Fishing for Trouble, and Party Animal. So those are her 3 books that have been published, and they have multiple stories in each.
Now, how does it come, to the point where you are able to market these books, get them out there in distribution, and accomplish such a great task? I mean, you've gotten legs with it now with the professional writer and the illustrator, the publisher. Who do you work with there, and how does that help move this?
Well, our illustrator, Britt, is the one that did the publishing on all of the books for us. And so we actually did self-publishing. The publicity that we've gotten has, been by the grace of God. And, Ed had connections through working with some media sources out in Atlanta. I believe he worked for CNN for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. And he and my cousin Catherine were able to get us some connections. But I will tell you, our local community here and the local papers were quick to pick up a lot of the stories because of the impact Vail had on our community. And so that spread the word here locally. But, Ed and Catherine and Britt, they really have helped get us the national publicity that we've needed. And that just one story has sparked a lot of interest from other news stations, newspapers, mm-hmm. And it's been really a cool thing to watch it progress.
Well, I think it is a God thing, everything coming together like this. And I think, we're at the tip of the iceberg. It sounds like you've got a lot ahead of you as far as being able to continue to share not only her, talents as an author, but, Vail's heart in these stories as well. You said there's Vail's Tales, Fishing for Trouble, and Party Animal. Is there more material that we can all look forward to from Vail that will be coming?
Oh, yes. We have many, many more books of hers that I've kept in a safe. And it's interesting, her second grade teacher had retired last year, and she called me about a month ago and said, hey, I've found 2 more of Vail's books in my things that I had taken from my desk. She must have kept them. And so I just got 2 new books that Vail had written. And so when our author and illustrator come for our event next week here in Pilot Point, they will pour through all of her stories and pick a few more, and we'll go on with the next book.
As Ed Payne kind of restructured it to make, it more sense and legible and punctuation and, make it something, as you said, you could read to your kids, does Vail get author credit as well?
Absolutely. On the cover of the book, it says, written by Vail Johnson and Ed Payne, illustrated by Britt Sekulic. Yep.
Where can people get the books?
They can buy them on Amazon now, and we have paperback and hardback available for all 3. And they can buy them on barnesandnoble.com also. And then, of course, through our website, Friends of Vail, and it's VAIL, friendsofvail.com. You can purchase the books through the website as well.
Excellent. Once again, Friends of Vail, folks. If you've got kids in your life, I think you'll do really well in purchasing these books and also helping a great cause as well. Well, I'll tell you what, Susan, what a great story. God bless you and your family and Vail. What's some good news out of such a great loss, and I'm sure she would have been such a lovely young woman, too. So thank you so much for sharing with us this morning, Susan.
I appreciate you having me on to tell the story.